Nas is one of the greatest rappers to ever walk this planet. His lyrical ability is almost unmatched throughout 30 plus years into his career, and his massive discography holds 18 albums, which range from some of the greatest works of hip hop ever made to kinda meh. But today I'm going to go over every single album, rank them from worst to best, while also giving you the best and worst songs from each album. But before I get started, I'm gonna try something a little bit different. We all know about the giant elephant in the room. It's here, it's inevitable, it's Illmatic. Illmatic is one of the greatest rap albums of all time, and it's hailed that way, rightfully so. It's one of my favorite projects of all time, and has some of my favorite songs in Nas's entire catalog. Illmatic, however, has been glazed for decades, once again rightfully so, and by the way, The World Is Yours is the best song on that album, but I feel like I'm gonna put this album at 0. We can all recognize its glory, we can all recognize its impact, but we can just move it off to the side. And now you don't know what number 1 is, so you're gonna have to keep watching. With that out of the way, here's every Nas album ranked from worst to best. I mean, let's be real, you all probably knew this was coming. You all know that this album is trash, but there's a reason why it's trash. You see, Nostradamus was originally supposed to be a double album along with I Am, but due to massive bootlegging, Nas decided to completely rush this project and drop it under a new name. So I guess this kind of completes the album trilogy of covers where Nas looks at something at 50% opacity. And if that's the case, this is the Godfather 3 of this trilogy. While the first two are complete masterpieces in their own respective art, the latter are both awful pieces of garbage that leave a stain on the legacy of the artist. This album is the worst kind of bad too. It's not so bad it's good, it's just bad. The best song on this project is Project Windows. The highest point on this album, Project Windows, sees Nas describe the sights and experiences he went through living in the housing projects in Queensbridge, New York. The hook is performed to perfection by Ron Isley, and if you were expecting an Illmatic or an It Was Written style from Nas on this album, this would be the only song to get you reminiscing. The worst song on this project is Big Girl. To put it in simple English, this song sucks, the hook sucks, the content sucks, the writing sucks, it's cringe, it sucks, the end. This album isn't bad, it's just painfully mediocre. There are a couple standout tracks, but besides from that, this project doesn't really have much to offer. Not bad, just kind of middle of the road. The best song on this album is Pistols on Your album cover. The song sees Nas representing Queensbridge once again while giving a shout out to the days of Rakim and Eric B over some great production. Just a good vibe all around. The worst song on this album is Office Hours. I mean, this song isn't bad. The 50 Cent feature just drags it down for me. You can tell he just phoned in his verse, and knowing that while listening to the song just drags down the listening experience, for me personally. When you name your album something like Hip Hop Is Dead, you better bring your A game, and I just don't feel like Nas did that here. While I don't think this album is nearly as bad as the previous two projects on this list, it's still not good. The long-awaited collaboration between Nas and Jay-Z, Black Republican, was underwhelming, and I just don't find myself revisiting this album that often. The best song on this list is Still Dreaming. This song has everything I would want in a song. 2000s Kanye on the beats, a great hook, good storytelling from QB's finest. This song is extremely underrated in Nas's catalog, and if you haven't already listened, I highly recommend it. The worst song on this album is Who Killed It. The concept for this record is actually pretty great. Searching for hip-hop's killer on an album called Hip Hop Is Dead is actually pretty genius, but the execution is fucking terrible. The production is awful, and that grating voice Nas makes me want to skip this song every time I listen to this album, which isn't very often. The cop shot the kid, the cop shot the kid, the cop shot the kid. I made an entire video on the disappointments of this album, so I'll make it short and sweet here. The production is surprisingly bland coming from one of the greatest producers of all time, and the lyricism is subpar from one of the greatest lyricists of all time. Mediocre. The best song on this album is Adam and Eve. One of the high points from this year, this song sounds like it's straight out of the 90s and just has a good feel to it. On one hand, you have songs like Cop Shot the Kid, which features a sample loop of Children's Story by Slick Rick. Kanye's actually on the song as well, and the two talk about police brutality against African Americans. It's actually really powerful stuff. Nas dives into the subjects of racial inequality, and this would have been a great sample choice if Kanye didn't loop the sample over again and again and again. This is quite easily Nas's most politically charged album to date. Untitled's cover depicts Nas's back engraved with lash markings symbolizing what black people went through during slavery, and it has some controversy surrounding its original name. Just look it up. And it also has controversy around Nas taking aim at George Bush through some of the lyrics. Untitled just missed the mark for me, as the album really has no replay value. The best song on this album is Breathe. The subject matter gets me every time I listen, simply for the fact that Nas was unfortunately right, and Breathe is just one example of the political and social nature Nas took with this album. The worst song on this album is Like Me. I'm not a fan of the chorus on this one, never was. With a cover that pays homage to The Last Supper, Street's Disciple, a double album, suffers through what a lot of double albums suffer from: its length. There's a decent album hiding in here somewhere, but there's a lot of filler that just drags down the album. Bridging the Gap, for example, which features Nas's own father, is an amazing concept record, and the album's highs really are on mark with his prime, but compared to the rest of his discography, Street's Disciple just misses the mark once again. The best song on this album is Thief's Theme. A great piece of storytelling, Thief's Theme calls back to Nas's days in the criminal underworld and has some callback lines to The World Is Yours.
The Thief's Theme, play me at night, they won't act right. Understandable smooth shit that murderers move with. Understandable smooth shit that murderers move with. The Thief's Theme, play me at night, they won't act right.
A very solid track, and overall, the best on Street's Disciple. The worst song on this album is UBR. There is way too much going on in this song. Nas sounds monotone as hell, and that annoying fucking bell pisses me off every single time I listen to this song. The clapping on the production is so annoying, and the worst part is the lyricism is actually pretty solid on this track, but the shitty production just weighs it all down. This might seem a little low for some, but I just never really got the hype around the original King's Disease. To me, this is quite easily the worst out of the entire KD trilogy, and it's still a great album, but just not as great as some of the other projects in Nas's discography. The quality of the King's Disease series got better and better as time went on, and for me, this album just simply got left behind. The best song on this album. The worst song on this album is Spicy. This song just merely exists to me, and Fivio's feature is kind of garbage, so I'm just not that fond of it. The final installment between the 6-album run between Nas and Hit Boy, Magic 3, caps off the series with an absolute banger. Just an album full of bangers, not trying to be too serious, and just having fun with it. The best song on this album is Speechless Part 2. Hit Boy, thank you for this amazing beat. The sample choice was absolutely incredible, and Nas gets extra credit for dissing AI. That's my GOAT. The worst song on this project is 1-800-NAS and Hit. It's not a bad song or anything, it's just a tribute to the Magic and King's Disease series created over the past few years. It's okay. Originally meant to be a double album, I Am incorporates elements of storytelling, obviously, and sees Nas sort of stray away from the elements of his first couple albums while maintaining the quality. The best song on this album is We Will Survive, a song dedicated to the loss of two rap titans. We Will Survive sees Nas writing to Pac and Big and telling them how much the rap game has suffered since they passed away. Nas reveals on this track why he didn't go to Biggie's funeral and shares his regret that he and Tupac beefed while the aforementioned was still alive. It is such a beautiful song. The worst song on this project is Dr. Knockboot. Now this is an example of a so bad it's good song. This is probably the most corny thing Nas has ever made in his entire career, as he attempts to give the listener a lesson in sex education. It sounds corny as hell because it is. Bad idea, bad execution, but you'll get them next time, Nas. This is one of the examples of a sequel that is better than the original. KD2 features a star-studded cast while also having some newcomers on the feature list, which Nas actually acknowledges on the song Moments. Some great music on a great album. The best song on this album is No Phony Love. Uncle Charlie cooks yet again. This song is amazing and Charlie Wilson deserves as much love as he can get. Nas on this track discusses his previous relationships as he reflects on where he is today. Another certified banger. And there are no bad songs on this album, so I just didn't really put one for the worst. Nas cooks yet again. Short and sweet, Magic was delivered to us on Christmas Eve as a gift from the MC God himself. This album was basically just Nas showing us that he still has it and he'll never not have it. The best song on this album is Meet Joe Black. I'm not gonna lie, this pick was purely based off nostalgia. This track was featured on Madden 23 and I used to play the shit out of that game, so shout out Madden, and just a solid track from a solid album. The worst song on this album is Hollywood Gangster. Not a bad song, he gives a shout out to the younger generation, but this is more of a generic song, so it's just okay. I would not have expected Nas and Damian Marley Jr. to have such a great chemistry, but this album is an absolute banger. If you haven't listened to it, stop what you're doing right now, stop watching this video, and go give it a spin. Fantastic production, choruses, wordplay, lyrics make this album amazing in my eyes. The best song on this album is Tribes at War. This song is an absolute banger, and the feature on this song is spectacular, and Nas really shines on this track, with a great hook from Damian Marley. I don't have a worst song from this album because there genuinely is not one single bad song on this album. They all belong, and they're all bangers. Nothing more to be said. Some of Nas's most personal work to date, Nas tackles religion, personal experiences, and racism in America all into one on God's Son. The best song on this album is Heaven. On this track, Nas discusses his own concept of heaven while also getting into some really personal experiences, discussing the death of his mother who meant so much to him. This song it gets me every time. It's so beautiful. The worst song on this album is Zone Out. This production just sucks and it distracts me every time I go back and listen to God's Son, and Jungle Rap's offbeat the entire time. This song it's booty. It's garbage. This album came at a tumultuous time in Nas's life. Fresh off a divorce and his last couple albums not really hitting the same, this was a breath of fresh air and we got a more mature Nas on this project. And it worked. From Nas describing the struggles of watching his baby girl grow up on the song Daughters, to what almost seems like a therapy session when he talks about his ending marriage on Bye Baby. This album, it's just special. The best song on this album is Cherry Wine. This track sees Nas describe what he looks for in a woman, but Nas is not the reason this track is so good. It's Amy Winehouse. She steals the show with her fantastic voice and captivating hook. I really wish this duo had more than 2 songs together. They were special. The worst track on this project is Summer on Smash. This song sticks out like a sore thumb. It's repetitive, it's boring. I don't know why he put this on the album, but it's bad. My favorite from the King's Disease trilogy, KD3 sees banger after banger after banger with amazing replay value. Nas and Hit cooked once again. The best song on this album is Ghetto Reporter. Another fantastic beat from Hit Boy and a great flow from Nas equates to another fantastic track. Nas also speaks facts on this record when he acknowledges how he doesn't really have the streaming numbers as other 90s legends, but his high quality of music means only the real ones are tuning in. The worst song off this album is Thun. The only reason this track is here in the first place is because someone in the studio fucked up the mixing for this song. It's unnecessarily loud and it pisses me off every time I listen to this album. An absolute classic, this was the perfect follow-up to Illmatic. Ill Verses, classic features and records, this was a perfect album and it needs no introduction, so less said, more ranking. I'm not gonna lie to you, there are about maybe 5 or so songs that could have taken this spot, but I had to give it to I Gave You Power. I still don't understand where this dude got the concept for this entire record. It's fucking genius. Rapping from the perspective of a gun, genius shit, man. The worst song on this album is Nas Is Coming. The intro goes on for way too long and the hook kind of stinks, but Nas still does his thing though, so it's not a bad song. A masterpiece of an album, Stillmatic is a certified classic and one of my favorite albums of all time. Everything about this album, besides that janky ass cover, has stood the test of time 20 years later. Nas's comeback album and home to one of the greatest diss tracks of all time, this project will always hold a special place in my heart. The best song on this album is Second Childhood. That DJ Premier beat is just pure perfection. This song hits all the bells and whistles and by far is my favorite track on Stillmatic. Second Childhood sees Nas explain to the listener how some people just can't get over their childhood and live a second one through their adult lives while visualizing through storytelling. The worst song on this album is Rule. They kind of butchered the interpolation of Everyone Wants to Rule the World on this track, so it automatically gets this spot. I still don't think this is a bad song, but they could have done much better with this interpolation. If you managed to get this far in the video, shout out to you and thank you. Your support means a lot to me. And if you want, you can follow me on Twitter using the link in my description. I'm pretty active on there. And give your rankings in the comments. I want to see them and it's very likely that I'll respond to them. As always, thank you for watching and I'll see you on the flip side.